So what we find is that men who have sex with men typically change partners a lot more, and so therefore there's higher risk for infections within the gay community. So what we suggest for men who have sex with men is to screen every 3 to 6 months.
Is that also because having anal sex, you're more likely to tear skin, or is that just a myth?
So unprotected receptive anal sex, so that means when you're bottom, that's the highest risk for HIV. So with gay men, we always say that if you're, especially when you're receptive, first of all, we now have medication that can stop you from becoming HIV positive. We've got something called PrEP, which is pre-exposure prophylaxis, which is essentially like how us girls take the pill every day to stop us from getting pregnant. That's the easiest way to describe what PrEP is. So it's available for anybody who is considered high risk for HIV. So people from high risk countries, people who may be sex workers, and men who have sex with men. So that's like a long term, and we know it works. And ever since PrEP came on the market, which has been the last couple of years, we've seen an 80% reduction in new HIV cases, which is incredible. Yeah.
Wow.
So the plan is to get that number to 0 and to essentially get HIV new diagnosis to 0. But also in tackling HIV diagnosis, we also want to tackle the stigma, educating everybody, whether you're considered a high-risk person or not, about HIV. And I think that's how we destigmatize it as a virus.
Yeah.
If we all know about it, then you won't get people coming into clinics saying, oh, you know, my housemate has been tested positive for HIV and I'm really worried. And then you'll say, okay, well, when did you have sex with your housemate? They're like, oh my God, no, we're friends. And it's like, okay, well, clearly there's some gaps in knowledge about how HIV is transmitted. So the more we all know, then the more likely we are to destigmatize it.
Yeah. And if you're taking medication for HIV, you can't pass it on anymore.
Yep, you can't pass it on. So if you're HIV positive and you're what we call undetectable, which means that you're still obviously HIV positive, but the level of the virus in your body is so low that it can't be picked up on a blood test. Meaning that if you're on effective treatment, even if you have unprotected sex, you cannot pass the virus on.
Amazing.
What about bisexual women and gay women? Is that how often should they visit the sexual health clinics?
There is this myth that women who have sex with women don't get STIs, and you're low risk, therefore we don't need to think about you in health promotion adverts and stuff, which is completely false.
Yeah.
Yes, if you are a gay woman or a bisexual woman, your risk is lower for infections generally, but you still very much can get an STI.
Absolutely.
So if you have sex with women, if you're a woman who has sex with women, especially when you're using sex toys, especially in in group sex environments where people use toys and maybe they might use it on several different people don't always think that you should clean a toy or even put a condom on a sex toy. It seems like almost ridiculous. You think, well, it's a toy, it's not a person. I'm not going to get an STI. But if you think about it, if you're inserting that into somebody's, anal cavity or vagina or anywhere, and they happen to have an infection, you take that out, you use it on yourself or somebody else, the infection will still live on that dildo or that toy, and then that's how you can then pass it on. So even just teaching gay women about washing toys in between use, using condoms as well, how to use lube safely, so not to use silicone lube with silicone toys, because that's not a good thing. These are the type of things that we want to and we need to sort of target with gay women as well.
I had no idea that you can use silicone lube with silicone toys.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? I learned that about 6 months ago as well. Yeah, we're all constantly learning when it comes to sex and relationships, and it's all trial and error. And you have good brands who try different things and find gaps in markets and different types of lube. We've got loads of different types of condoms than we've ever had before. A lot of people don't like using condoms. They say, oh, I don't enjoy sex as much. But then now there's no longer that excuse anymore because
no.
there's
one for everyone.
There's one for everyone, exactly.